Uh, so I guess what I'll do is I'll introduce you. This is what I'm calling "Are You Board Game Garbage?" I'll ask some questions that are a little off the wall, but I'm doing this to get there's certain people in the industry I enjoy. You are one of them. Um, just your whole personality and you're genuine to me. You and Scott, you two are like the two people I consider.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
so this is it's a Q&A, but like I said, this is not going to be like anything you ever done before. I got this idea off of a podcast I watched called "Are You Garbage," where they'll get comedians that they work with and they'll ask them some off the wall questions to try and get to know their personality. Um, I didn't realize your Kickstarter was still going on, Kev, but we'll talk about that afterwards. All right. I thought you were done with the Kickstarter.
Yeah, that ends November 27th at midnight. It looks like it says we're live 1 minute.
Yeah, we are. I just went live. All right, let me pull up the questions, and then, like I said, let's start with what was your early board gaming life like? Like, did you grow up in a broken home? Was this
I
something you
did.
did?
I did grow up in a broken home. We was always broke.
Yeah.
No, actually, my mom and dad actually did divorce when I was 5 years old, and my mother never remarried, and so I lived with my mother and my sister in my earlier life, younger life. My dad had moved away, and so I didn't have him in my life at younger, but he's been a big influence in my life in later years. So that's always been real good. But growing up, we played a lot of different board games, but it was most of the games that most people would be familiar with. Getting games at Kmart was the place that you bought games back then, and wall work and all of those kind of different games or stores. And we played Sorry and that kind of stuff. But it was when I started getting into high school that I graduated in 1983, so you can do the math. There's a reason. It's not really the age, it's the mileage, but it does put me out there a little bit. And we were playing Risk and some of those games that I liked a lot. But when Milton Bradley came out with those big box games, Axis and Allies, and then Shogun with the swords, Fortress America, and Conquest of the Empire. And there's these great big honking boxes, and the rules were like this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we're going to have fun forever. This game is going to last us forever because it was nothing we'd ever seen before, right?
Yeah.
But growing up, my grandpa and dad and we would always go over to their house and we played gin rummy, and we always played for a quarter. Grandpa'd bring out his quarter and he'd be grinning, and playing gin rummy and cribbage. And we played a lot of whist in North Dakota. That was kind of one of the big 4-player games that if you're playing card games,
I never heard of that one. Was
yeah,
it like
whist, basically just a trick-taking game where you got 4 suits and try and take the most tricks with your partner.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, I heard of like euchre. I never played it, but I heard that. But yeah, it's weird how different regions have their own little card games.
Yeah, and it's not quite like euchre. Euchre's got a few more twists to it. It's pretty just simple, straightforward trick taking. Everybody's got 13 cards, and you get the invite to your opponent. What you think you're gonna do. When you first card that you slough is typically your invite, and that's the card that they want to play back to you. That type of thing. So you kind of learn how to play with your partner when you play in whist tournaments. People take it very seriously.
Oh, sure. I'm sure. I remember my grandfather with Pinochle.
Same thing.
He had a group of guys that go up to Catholic order vets all the time, and they were serious about it. They did it all weekend. Like he'd leave Friday and come back Sunday night for dinner.
Yeah, it was big fun. Big fun.
Right,
well, I just want to say too, Barry, thanks for thinking about me and having me on your inaugural show, here you're doing something new and interesting, and you say, Burky, do you want to come and be my guinea pig to do this? And I'm like, yeah, I love being that guinea pig.
Yeah, well, I kind of suckered you into it at the end. I said it was a Q&A. Like I said, I don't know exactly how to describe this. And after we're done with it, I'm going to ask you how you would describe it, and if there's anybody who would like me to do this too.
Cool.
So, like I said, none of these are going to harm you. They're just like off kilter questions to try and get to know your personality, who you are as a gamer a little better.
Yeah.
It's basically see if you're board game glamorous or board game garbage. Yeah.
Board game grouch?
Garbage.
Board game garbage. Gotcha.
So here's the first question. Have you ever stolen a pile of cards at a con while wearing your company shirt?
That was not me. And that would never be me. And because, I got hit with maybe a little bit of the ugly stick, but I didn't get hit with the stupid stick.
Yeah, I know. I knew you wouldn't do that. It was just a soft opener.
Oh, I couldn't believe that when I saw that. And I was just like, first off, what's the matter with people that they feel like they got to steal from others? And I feel that's sad in our society now, that people feel that that's okay, or they do those things. Yeah. I just don't get that. But and then they were just, it makes one of those bumbling movies, that stupid criminals episode. Did they ever catch that? I know they caught them, but has that already been prosecuted and all that?
I don't know if it went to court. Like you said, I know there was arrest warrants and all that. And but I don't know what the extent. We wouldn't know with that for a couple of years anyway. If it went through courts,
yeah, it's probably
court
true.
System's slow. All right. So, if you were hosting a game night, what snacks would you serve at the game night?
Oh, good question. Well, I don't like things that are going to be real greasy on my game pieces and things like that, or cards. So like Cheetos are out. But I tend to serve like pretzels, or like those peanut butter pretzel things. Serve jerky, things like that, and that can be a little oily, but I don't get super crazy about it, honestly. But I don't want things that are real messy and sloppy, especially if it's going to stain the mat or anything. One thing that's really nice about our Game Topper product that I use, first mentioned, so that's a shameless plug, but our cup holders are dishwasher safe. They've got these are collapsible, and they have these big wells. Well, you can put food in them. They're food grade. It's a heavy-duty rubber called Sarlic, and they use it on gaskets on water pumps and different things like that. But it's very durable but safe. Anyway, they work really nice for like chip holders and stuff like that. So if you're serving pretzels and stuff like that.
That's a cool thing. Yeah. It is cool. I do like your like I said, I seen the older version at BGG Spring. I do like they were nice table toppers. They were well built and all. Well,
yeah.
All right. You have kids, so when they were younger, would you let them win all the time?
It's kind of funny, but the answer is no. I kept them coming back for more. But of course, I did not cheat them. But I played normally, but then I would teach them while we were playing why I was doing what I was doing. But we didn't have a lot of the games now that are super complex and things of that nature. But we all played to have fun, and we all played to win, and we taught each other good sportsmanship. So there were lessons to be learned about that. Of course, as an older, smarter person, than a child, you're going to know more. I probably can't say that when they were little that I let them win. I think I did, for encouraging them's sake and stuff like that. But as we got into that older stage where really our gaming life took off, was really probably when most of the kids were above 10 years old. And then we played family games. And so none of us are real cutthroat, but everybody's competitive. So it's kind of a blending there of being really competitive, but not being mean. So I don't think any of us really like take that games.
Yeah. Yeah, they're what I found, they're 50-50 with people. Some people do, some people don't.
Yeah.
With the take that games. I can understand that, you're building something and they destroy it and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
they're tough games. All right, so a follow up with that one. Say you were playing a game with your kids, and you've won this game a few times. You declared yourself champion of this game and retired it. Have you ever done this?
Haven't done that. But that seemed to be the motivation that they wanted to play it again, because they love to beat dad. And honestly, when they beat dad, there was a big celebration going on. And I endured it gracefully, but they relished those moments because they love that.
Okay.
And we used to, when the kids, I have 4 children. Okay. My 2 oldest daughters, Hannah and Maddie, have the costume company. Josiah, who's an incredible gamer. He honestly, and I know how it is, with parents and stuff, you're always proud of your kids and whatnot, but he was the youngest Star Wars Armada World's champion. He won that tournament when he was 20 years old in computer science major in school. He graduated from high school in Minnesota. We have what's called PRC, and you can take college courses while you're in high school. He took 2 years and got his associate's degree before he graduated high school. And just super bright, really good with people, but very, very intelligent. And I've been around just a ton of gamers in my life, especially as I've gotten into the bigger hobby, so to speak. I've never seen anybody read a rule book, and thick rule books, as quickly as he does, assimilate the information, know where to reference it, but be able to teach that game and already know the strategy. Whenever we're playing with him, we are always playing for second. I mean, he's way smarter than I am. So he's just brilliant. But when they were younger, we were all growing. I mean, Josiah and I used to play chess a lot. And when he could finally beat me at chess, that was a great day for him.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah. Proving their dad wrong. Yeah. It's kind of rite of passage with boys and their fathers, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
I'm trying to decide the order on how we should do this one. Growing up, what was your favorite mass-produced game?
Growing up would have been Risk.
Risk.
Well, I had several versions of it. We had this one version called Castle Risk that I just loved. You have a castle in each of the countries in Europe, and it's more European centric, the whole map. Yeah. And the way you move things and the way you defended that castle was just really unique, and I like that. But then I had gotten a couple other Risks, and I had gotten the Lord of the Rings Risk later on. Love that. And so we played Risk till the cows. Before we moved into our first home, we did a painting party. And what do? We'd paint a room, and then we'd sit down and play a game of Risk. We'd go paint the other room, play another game of Risk. And I remember that one night we stayed up all night long and painted and played Risk. And that was one of the things. But at that point, that was back in, 1985-ish or something like that. I wasn't aware of this greater renaissance of hobby board games that were out there. I had no clue that there was that. And back then there wasn't quite as many as there are now, of course, but
yeah. Risk is probably one of my favorites. I just played Axis and Allies for the first time, about a month ago.
Oh, wow.
The easier version of Axis Allies. And part of the reason was I realized I never played it I didn't really play board games when I was younger, but me and my brother had a stint where we would play Risk for like days. We'd stop games in the middle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Unfortunately, he just got laid off, so he's got time now. And I figured maybe we try Access and Allies, and I got the easier version, the 1941 version, and I it's a little more complicated than Risk, but I don't think it's as complicated as the base game.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
But yeah, like I was saying, Risk, like you, I have a lot of memories, with that game.
Well, when Axis and Allies came out, I mean, we thought we were in heaven. My best friend from high school, we would have that thing set up on the table. After I moved out of my home, graduated, and I roomed with another friend of mine where we rented an apartment in a house. But we had our kitchen there, and that table was always set up with Risk or Shogun, and those were sometimes really long, expansive games for us, and we sometimes couldn't finish them all in one setting, and they would set up. But I remember playing those games solo without a solo mode, just playing both, playing the different powers and, trying to be fair because I just love that thing. I've always loved historical games, actually. So that's been a genre that I still really enjoy.
Yeah, I do too. Have you ever been caught cheating at a game?
Have I ever been caught cheating at a game?
Intentionally?
No, not that I'm aware of, but to me, cheating is just dumb. I don't need to cheat. I don't need to show that I'm better than someone. So I don't cheat. You can inadvertently cheat. That would be different than, or you're playing something wrong or something like that. Now, honestly, I don't remember when I was a kid. I'm sure that I did, like all kids, you do screwy stuff when you're stupid. So,
yeah,
growing up, that's probably possible, but I don't know. Might have cheated my sister playing games with her when I was a little punk. And I do not approve of it.
So to go along with this, it's not quite the same, but say you're playing with a group of friends, one of the friends goes to the bathroom. Do you adjust one of his pieces to mess with him?
Oh, generally the answer would be no, but I don't know. I've got a little bit of that mischievousness in me every now and then where you're pranking someone, but generally probably not. It would have to be the right environment where we're really trying to screw with somebody, and then that would have to be real close friends where everybody knows what we're doing and you make it right, or whatever. But that kind of thing. I had 10 armies on Kamachka. No, there was only 7 there.
I used to game with the Secret Cabal guys. It's too long of a drive for me right now, but we do that. Jamie and Chris would do that to each other sometimes.
That's funny.
Have you ever flipped the board on a game while playing?
Oh gosh, I got to tell you a story. And I probably, when I say Risk, I should have probably really said Monopoly too. Because after I got married, my wife and I played Monopoly a lot, and we had friends that would come over. We live in Minnesota, and so in the winter times, whenever there's a snowstorm, our good friends the Tisdiles would come over, and we'd play Monopoly. And we got this one version of Monopoly that's the electronic version. So this big electronic version, have you seen this?
No.
It sits in the middle of the board, actually, and it rolls the dice. You push the button and it rolls the dice. But you can take loans against the properties once you have a monopoly, and you got about 7 turns where you have to pay it back with 10% interest. So it infuses a bunch of cash into the game right away, so that while you're going around either to pay bills or to buy new properties once you've run out of money, it sometimes elongated the game a little bit, but we didn't play with free parking when we used that module, but we love that electronic novel thing. But you had to be careful not to unplug it from the wall, which one time that happened, that was not good. But my wife and I, being young married people, we had our good friends over to play Monopoly. And I don't know what was going on with us that night, but we were just kind of picking at each other. And I would win Monopoly regularly. And my wife would not trade with me. I would say, here's Marvin Garden and Ventnor, and all I want is Oriental Avenue. Yeah. You'll get a bigger Monopoly with 2 properties for my one little piddly one. And she wouldn't do it for nothing. And she would get kind of snarky with me, and it just kept escalating, and we got company there. And finally I said, are you freaking kidding me? And now I'm like 24 years old. Okay. I'm just a stupid young punk. Okay. This is bad behavior, but, I said, I've had it, and it just escalated, and I picked up the end of the board and I flipped it.
Oh,
and Bob and Mary Beth, our friends, they looked at each other, and Mary Beth goes, I think we should go home. And my wife is seething, and she's very, very competitive. So she grew up with 10 brothers and sisters who fought like dogs and cats. So when they played games, it always usually ended up in somebody smacking somebody. And that was the way it was. So that competitive thing could just get overtaken early on in our marriage. We've been married now 38 years, but nonetheless, I said, no, I'm so sorry. This was outrageous. And we smoothed it all over, but yes, I flipped the board. Okay. Haven't done that since, but yeah, that was not a pleasant memory, or anything that I watched too much. It's funny now.
Yeah, at the time, I'm sure she's quite upset, but yeah, now.
Yeah, stupid things you do.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, this just actually happened to me. Here's another one. Say you're playing a game that your wife knows very well, and she likes to come in and sneak up and take what you took. And you realize what she's doing, and you say to her, if you do this, I will destroy you. Have you ever done that?
No, and that would be way out of character for my wife. My wife's not actually much of a gamer. She likes to play family games with the family. So she loves Ticket to Ride. She plays it on her iPad all the time. She plays Scrabble like crazy. And I hate Scrabble, so I don't want to play word games. Just read my texts and you'll know that I don't like word games. Yeah, I'm not a wordsmith, but she'll play games that are like Concordia. Back in the day when Days of Wonder was starting to become a thing, at Christmas you'd buy one game, get another game free. It was quite a deal. It was kind of a loyalty thing, and you'd get it online and you'd get a code, and then you'd go on and you'd buy the games. Well, we got all of those Days of Wonder games when they were coming out, Ticket to Ride and all the different versions, Memoir 44, Colosseum, Cleopatra, City of Architects, Mystery of the Abbey, all of those. There's more. Colosseum was one. Joan loves Colosseum. So she hates learning a new game, hates it. The answer is always no. In fact, when I ask her about a new game, this is what I do. I go, me, no, because I already know the answer. No, I just got to pull the string. But then once she gives into it, she generally always loves it, but she's a family weight gamer. So if it's too complex, she'll glaze over, but she likes Cascadia a lot. She likes Azul, played Abyss with us. She plays Cleopatra, just does fine. She played Foundations of Rome. She liked it. So it's just a matter of getting the right game, the right environment, the right mind space too. When you have 4 kids and you do when you're really busy in that middle phase of your life, it's hard to have, that space where you feel like you want to do that. And really for me, I don't know if I want to say I'm an alpha gamer, but really getting into the gaming hobby for me really didn't happen extensively till about 2014.
Okay.
So I've played games all along, and
Yeah.
prior to that, there were games that were considered hobby games, but it wasn't. Now I have close to 700 games in my collection.
Really? How many?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how I just went through a big purge in my collection. It's just amazing how many you collect and you don't even realize it. Like I got rid
Yeah.
of about 200, I'm going to say, and I still have at least 200.
Yeah. I feel that I got to get rid of some too. It's almost depressing looking at them. And there's some
Yeah,
good ones. It's like you have a positive memory about one of those games. It's hard to let go of it, but you go, I'm probably not going to play that again.
yeah, I have that. Like the first game I played with Lance, craft wagon. I have that, and with Aldi it was Pharaoh Temple of the Pharaohs or something. I have it. It's a dice game, and with you, 51st State. I remember the first
Oh
game I played
yeah,
with
at
you.
Origins. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
yeah. So I keep some of them to trigger, like craft wagon. I haven't played that in years. Yeah, but I keep them because of the memory, and that's odd for me. I'm really not sentimental, but and then there's always the games that I like to play once or a year or once every 2 years that don't really come out. Game of Thrones stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the rest of them, it's I looked at them one day and was like, I got more games than I can play in a year, literally. Like if I played two a day, I'd still would have more than I can play.
That's exactly the problem I'm experiencing too. And being a gamer and then becoming in the hobby in a manufacturing sense, and even when you're doing media, you're still engaged a lot more doing the games and that kind of stuff. But once I got into manufacturing and producing content for Game Toppers and doing our tables, I mean, my workload just totally shifted
Yeah,
amazingly. So it's wonderful, but it's been grueling hours, sometimes 70 plus hours. And it's like, even I love the guys on the Alaboom, but sometimes by 9 o'clock, I've got no brain space left. Even I'm so shot. So I don't even think
yeah.
about playing games, or I'm only 58, but I'm definitely feeling the wear on the tread.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about cons. Have you ever released a butt cracking at a con? That's what I call it, the ass crack. Like a little pinnacle coming from the deep.
No, listen. Up in the north here, we got these amazing underwears called the Duluth Trading Company Buck Naked underwears, and
I've
they're
actually thought about that
designed to
before.
protect against plumber's crack. All right. Now I see it at conventions every now and then, and I just want to take a quarter and put it in there. But no, I just buy my buck naked Duluth Trading Company underwears, and I'm happy.
the quarter, the quarter thing. I used to work on the trade, so the guys there were a little rough compared to some groups, But I come from a long line of plumbers, so my ass crack's always out. So they would get ice cubes and do it to me, and we do it to everybody. But we'd run around
Ice cubes, yeah. Yeah, that's not good. Well, I got to hook you up with some Duluth Trading Company buck naked underwears then.
I actually recently looked at a lot of men's crotches at underwear because I got some nerve issues with what's going on with me, and that area is a little sensitive with how they seam them together and all. And Duluth was one of the ones I was looking at.
Oh, I love them. I love them. I've got about 12 pairs of them, and they're just the best. Your peas are never squished. Now, this isn't even like public. This isn't for public consumption.
Like I said, they're going to be all filtered. I don't know how
I'm giving you off kilter authentic, aren't I?
Yeah, I love the concept of this, and I just don't know how to explain it. And eventually, I'd like to get a co-host, like my yin and yang. Like I know I could come off as mean, or I know how I come off it sometimes. And I don't want this to be this. This is lighthearted, But like I said, the questions are a little off kilter. So speaking of the cons, do you get so involved in cons that you forget to wear deodorant and shower?
No, I'm pretty big on hygiene, actually. I shower, I try to get my rest, I try to stay hydrated. I rarely get sick at cons, every now and then. Um, I just had all four of the grandkids over this weekend and they were all sick, and I ended up getting sick here. So I've been a little bit under it the last 3 days, but generally I try to take care of myself at the cons and stuff like that. And I care about that. So I try to keep trimmed up and cleaned up and all of that. It makes me feel better. And there's nothing worse than sitting next to someone that is really bothering your nose. So
Yeah.
I want to be considerate of other people too. And I want to be healthy when I'm around other people also. So I try to take care of myself. And if I'm not feeling good, I'm not going to sit down and move pieces next to people. So they don't need my snot.
Yeah, I found the concept. Most people are considered like that's just some kind of thing.
I had one situation at Gen Con this one year, and this guy sat down and he had gotten this big sloppy sandwich, like Subway sandwich, and it just was full of onions and stuff, but he just reeked, and he plops it down on the table where all the pieces are, and juices flowing all over the place, and he was totally oblivious to what was going on.
Mhm.
And it was very uncomfortable. I was like, well, I like people, and I'm not that judgmental, actually. So it's not like I had anything against the guy, but it was hard to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's good to be considerate of others.
I already know the question. The answer is though. Do you have a gaming table?
Of course. Well, I have a fun story about my gaming table, though, because most of your listeners, they probably know by now. We've mentioned a couple times that I own Game Toppers. But before Game Toppers, we were doing media. I was doing board game theater where we dress up in costume, play games, and then I have the Burky and Badger board game babble show with Barry Doublet from France. And so it started. Yeah, he's awesome, and got to know a lot of people in the hobby, publishers and media folks and friends, and it just was really awesome. Well, back when we first started and I saw this greater hobby, the big company out there was Geek Chic,
Yeah.
and they had some awesome tables, but they were like $7,000-$10,000. And that was back in 19 or 2014, whatever. And they're no longer in business, of course, but they had this huge area. And I'm a craftsman, so I've done a lot of businesses in my life, in stonemasonry and carpentry and different things, as well as owning a computer company. And I was a professional chef at one point, so have got a lot of diverse background. But this, I'm always tinkering in the wood shop. This here was my wood shop. It's become my Game Topper studio now. But when I saw that table, I wanted that, but I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So I started drawing, went and talked to my dad. He's a craftsman, and he built me this beautiful table made out of hickory and cedar. It had real leather and copper and deer horn. I had some prints. I'm an outdoorsman, so I had these wildlife prints. And he made these frames for me. I said, let's match those frames with the table. And it had a traditional gaming vault. I had stationary cup holders that were kind of a makeshift thing that he came up with that are functional, but not great, honestly. But we loved that table, and we played on that table. And that was the inspiration for Game Toppers. I thought, how do I make my two oldest daughters had gotten married, and I would go up there on Wednesdays with my wife sometimes, and we'd play games with them. I thought, how do I make a portable experience like this? And so I made my first Game Topper. It was just horse crap. Great big hinge in the middle so that I could fold it in half. But so the hinge doesn't scratch the table, I had to make these struts, and I had an old piece of carpet for a mat. And no cup holders. It really sucked, but it was the first try. And then I made another one, and then I made a third one, and the third one was starting to look pretty cool, and we loved it. And it was easy to take over there and set up, and it felt like I was playing on a high quality game table. And the rest is history with how we came into manufacturing and all that kind of stuff. But that was the impetus for the idea. That third prototype I actually took to a game night up in Moorhead at Jim's house, and Lance was there, and that's when Lance gave me the big sign of disapproval that this would never work. So
yeah, it never worked. I'm glad you didn't listen to him.
I'm grateful that I respect his opinions. So I don't always agree, but I do respect him. But I'm glad I didn't. I was a little crushed, to be honest, but it was like I'm glad it worked.
That actually is the whole reason I contacted you, and I forgot. I'm in the during the winter. I'm going to go in my shop, and I like because of my back. I like the game at my recliner.
Oh yeah,
and I'll put up them folding tables. But what I found is they're a pain with the bigger games. So I'm thinking about designing this folding table that'll like slide over the recliner, and I could like actually sit there with my legs up on. So that was the idea. I was going to have something like that. I think. I don't think it'll be a huge thing, but I think there's a market for it there somewhere.
Huh, that'd be cool. Yeah, I've actually seen some of these. We have some ideas for adjustable height game toppers because we have legs now for all of our tables so they can be fully legged. And we actually have a new caster. It's a 1,500-pound heavy-duty caster for our children's table.
For children?
It's called the Young Sherlock. Yeah. And they're 16-inch legs with these 1,500-pound coasters, and they have lockable. You could use it for a shop table. That's how sturdy they are. Yeah. But you can use it as a movable coffee table for your reclining couches and stuff. But then it's also a perfect height for kids' table, puzzles and stuff. My grandkids run down there to play on that table.
Really?
They absolutely love it. It's awesome. You'll see the Young Sherlock video on our website or on the Kickstarter campaign. That's really fun. We filmed Philip, my oldest grandson, as young Sherlock, and they're playing games and Clue and Crack the Case and stuff like that. It's just kind of a cute thing, but you could see it there. And we have some ideas about that for the future. So having a table that is tall enough, a topper that actually could have those casters on it that would allow it to move freely over your chair, that type of thing for people handicap accessible or whatever. That could be a real possibility.
Yeah, that's originally where it came from. Like I was in the wheelchair for a few months, about a year actually, but that's originally where it came from. This idea, but it evolved to go over to recliner. Like I'm trying to think of something that like I could pull over a recliner like on a caster, but I want to actually expand a little bit for bigger games. That's where I'm stuck at now. How to do that without the multi-level, with the boards and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the whole reason I contacted you in the beginning, and I just forgot about it. Have you ever taken more than 15 minutes to on a game like, hey, that's my fish or something like that on a turn?
On a turn? I don't know that game. I kind of remember
it. Like Ticket to Ride or something like that. I was just going for a quicker.
I generally don't suffer from AP. But when I'm learning a game, sometimes that first 2 to 3 turns for me are slow learns. So I'm asking a lot of questions, which like my son picks things up so quickly that his brain is already 4 steps ahead of mine. And that's more on heavier games, but it's kind of weird. It's games like Kanban, and he taught that. I was right in. I thought, why are everybody complaining about this game being hard? This is easy. That
garbage report. Yeah.
That just clicked for me. I like Euro games, but I think I have this, Tony Topper refers to the issue of cognitive load. And I have a problem with cognitive load. I have too much information going on with all the things that I manage in my job. We're doing big things. We're in 18 countries in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom. We've got 250 SKUs of mats alone. I do all the art direction. I do the product development. I do all the marketing. I still do some of the payables. I have teams for some of my accounting and graphics work, but I oversee all of that. I help a bit at the shop when needed, but generally Josiah and my son manages all of those logistics and our warehouse manager. My wife works part-time, but there's a lot to do with a company our size with 4 people.
Yeah.
And so cognitive load is a problem. And if I've had one of those, if I don't have free space in my mind where I can relax, it's harder for me to pick up on all those heavier rules, so to speak. So I don't think I'm overly AP, and I don't think I generally take that long. I'm usually more concerned about the people playing around me, that I don't want them to feel frustrated that they're waiting. But on the other hand, if people are being kind of jerky about that and real impatient all the time, like, come on, come on, come on. Well, that's not fun for me either. You got to give me a few minutes to think, but not 15.
Yeah. No, I get you.
I found that on that game War Room, which was that great big Axis and Allies different version.
Yeah.
That game made it that way. I hated that, actually.
Did it? Really?
Oh, we just sat there forever waiting for people to do their turn because it just took that long to do everything the way that game was. And it's just like, you got 3 people sitting here for 15 minutes each before you got to your turn. And it's just like, no, that's annoying.
I could see that. Yeah, that is actually one of my concerns with the bigger versions of Access Allies is the downtime. If you're like America, you're going last,
Yeah. And sometimes you've got, 7 or 8 moves depending on what's going on there. So it can take a little bit of time, but that's always interesting enough for me to stay engaged, generally speaking. So
yeah. I'd a couple more. I don't want to hold you too long. What is your favorite con and why?
My favorite con?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, it's BGG Con, Board Game Geek Con. I don't know. It's just they're my peeps. I love them. I really enjoyed Dice Tower Con too. It's about 3,000 people. Lots of good folks there too. Just something about BGG was one of the first cons that I started with board game theater. I was the good sheriff of Nottingham, and I would come and help out Arcane Wonders and provide some little events and add some color to the teach and all of that, just having fun. That's when some of the media things were happening for me. And that's where I met a lot of wonderful people. And just the feel of that con, it's a little less commercial, and yet there's a little bit going on. I actually feel like the only thing that I think has downgraded is that it doesn't have as many of the publishers there now. It seems like there's a lot of smaller indie publishers. Most of the bigger ones aren't there. And when we were at the airport, there was that one hall just right across from the main gaming hall. And that hall was usually just totally booked. So it was actually kind of fun going there to be able to see, all the things that happened after Essen. And some of those publishers had brought back games, and a lot of the bigger publishers were there. Now you're not seeing that so much. So that's my only thing that I wish was back the way that was. But on the other hand, the convention itself has so many events. Like I'm going to play Friday night in the poker tournament. I love that. I played it last year. That was so much fun. Grant Lyon is going to be there doing a comedy bit, and I just love him. I was just on a show today with him with our live question and answer on our Game Toppers Kickstarter. We do these live Q&As with our backers and bring on a guest. And those kind of events, and they had that, the luchador spinning tops things, that they did, battle tops or whatever, just so much fun. And people really get into it. So I really like it. It's my con. I don't have as many helpers this year, so I'm going to be working the booth more than I'd hoped. But nonetheless, it's kind of my hangout con.
Yeah, it's other than that Jack Wagon oldie, I love that con. I could do without him, but I'm kidding. I love Scott. But I found BGG con is its own thing. And I'm not surprised to hear the vendors bailed out on it, the bigger ones, because they're money hungry now, in my opinion. And that con is not for that. That's for enjoying the hobby. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, for me, the con is not a big selling con. The bigger cons are what helps you as a publisher manufacturer to make up some of the sales that you need to. BGG has always been for me a support con where I like to
Yeah.
be there to support BGG too. Scott Alden, I met him back in 2016, 17, excuse me, at a layover at an airport in Chicago. We
Oh,
were
really?
both stuck, yeah. And I recognized him. I was new to the hobby, just a couple years in, but I had this idea for game toppers, and I had it on my iPad. I made a video of my wooden prototype, and we got talking, and then he asked me what I did, and so I got this idea, and he just loved the idea. And Scott bought 30 of my initial game toppers before I even went to Kickstarter, and put them at BGG, and they're still there, and they still look as good as when we built them.
Yeah.
And here I was a little guy that didn't have a pot to pee in, and Scott believed in me. And I mean, that I'm a pretty loyal fellow, so I love supporting the con too, the best that I can. I advertise with them as well, but Scott's been a great ambassador to the hobby, and I love what he's done over there. So happy to support it.
We got the robot Kabuki here, and she has a question. Do you have
I love Kabuki.
do you have a booth at the con at BGG?
Yeah, I scaled down a little bit this year just to a 10 by 10. But Trent Turner and I will be there. I'll be in the booth a little bit more than normally. Normally, I take more time off at BGG and have extra people there. We usually have a 10 by 20. But last year, I partnered with Rob McBride from Scyther Gaming. So he took a little portion of the corner of my booth, and then he kind of helped out, and we had other people helping. But this year, some of my helpers weren't able to make it. So, and I've been running a Kickstarter, trying to prepare for PAX and BGG, and running like a dog. So it's just haven't been as proactive as I should have been to get more helpers. But nonetheless, we'll have a presence there and a few products, bringing some mats and some accessories. And I've got a Watson topper I'm bringing that it's actually a factory second that has some slight cosmetic powder coat flaws. They're kind of piddly, to be honest, but being we're running our big Kickstarter, I didn't want to bring any of our main product because I want to fulfill to our backers first.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, like I said, I seen the ones Scott bought, yeah, and they are still held up. I was surprised, like you said, it was like 5 or 6 years later. I was surprised how well, not necessarily the toppers held up, but how the mats did. The player mats, or
yeah, the neoprene. The game topper is made out of a T6 military grade aluminum, so it's a really hard aluminum. They're just very stout. The mats are 3mm premium stitched edge, and the thickness isn't quite the thing. Some people talk about thickness, but it's actually the density that makes a mat good, so that it doesn't have a memory. The smaller thin mats that you get a lot of times with your games and stuff, you notice how if you fold them, they get a crease and you can't get it out. That's because of the density of the mat. And our mats can crease if you did them, inappropriately over a long period of time. But generally speaking, you roll them up. Our mats just always lay flat. And there's likewise, they had a situation with the first set of mats we had where they kind of rolled them, but they put them all in one big box and smashed them all. And so they kind of had a little wave. And so then we upgraded them to the big 3mm ones, and now they take care of them better as well. And now we're getting them the new collapsible cup holders, so they have the new and improved.
That's good. That's cool. All right. Well, with the con thing, what's your least favorite con and why?
My least favorite con, it's Gen Con, man.
Is it?
I just hate Gen Con. The first year that I went in 2014, it sounds bad. I have love-hate relationship with it. I do get a little bit of an excitement wanting to go and see my friends, but the chaos of Gen Con has just kind of gotten to me, to be honest. You can't walk through the halls. It's like a bunch of Ninja Turtles with their backpack things on, and they're turning around and knocking you into somebody. And, you can't get where you need to go because there's just so much crowded space. And yet it's an amazing spectacle. I like the city. I like some of the things that you can do outside of there. A lot of times there's an excitement about the new games, so I really like that. But the chaos of it, getting in and out of there, honestly, I'm not a big fan of the way Gen Con treats people. I like to treat people the way I want to be treated. And to me, my customer is very important. They don't treat their customers very well. And so I don't like that.
Yeah, that's one con I never had an interest in going because of some of the things you were saying. It's too big for me. I don't like people that much. Yeah.
Well, I really like Origins. Origins is one of my favorite cons. It gives you a pretty good sized vendor experience, and yet you don't have so much of that chaos. I like people. I just don't like the chaos, the extra noise and tight situations like that. So it's just gotten too overcrowded, and it's wonderful in one sense. So still have a lot of fond memories about it. But it's the one I don't look forward to as much as I used to.
Goddamn.
So did you fall over?
I have an orange cat who jumps up on this table.
I thought you took a tea kettle.
Me and Beaker have a love-hate relationship with this table. When I'm playing a game, he'll jump up here and grab dice or something and run. Me and him are always fighting with this table. He bites me, which it doesn't hurt, but I try to get the die off him and he'll bite me, and he kind of thinks this is his room, because I wasn't in it. When we got, he's 6 years or 7. When we got him, I was so focused on getting back to walking and stuff again. I wasn't in this room at all. I used Pandemic Legacy and Flick 'em Up as part of my recuperation, but other than that, I didn't touch board games. Yeah.
Wow.
So he thought this was his room his entire life. So we're having a bit of a control conflict here.
Kabuki says, I see your X's and Allies way back there. Yeah, I see it back there sitting there.
Yeah, I'm actually going to film it. I started filming the rules for it. I'm going to refilm that. I didn't like the way it came out, but I'm going to film it and put it up next week probably. If the editing goes well. This is going to be a long game. It's a long video. I already know that. But I wanted to. The reason I started the channel back up is I am forgetting how to play my own games, and there's nobody better to teach me how to play my own games than me. So I'm filming the videos to teach myself how to play these later on. But yeah, X's and Allies is probably going to be next week or maybe the next week, depending on.
I talked to Scott Gata from Renegade Game Studios, who took over some of the Hasbro stuff, and at Gen Con, this was one of the things that I saw that was kind of a standout memory, was they've got that 1914 Axis and Allies. And he talked about the mechanism to make it feel like that trench warfare that was slow and kind of sloggy. Yeah. Doesn't mean the game is slow and sloggy, but the simulate that, the multiple turns that it takes to get to what was going on. And they've made a reproduction of that game now, and they're doing all of that. And I kind of want to try that game, actually.
Yeah, that's this. The one I got is a Renegade version, the 41, the entry level into it.
Okay, sure.
And I did look in the other ones. Like when I decided I wanted to try this game, I had no intention of buying a new one because I know it wouldn't get to the table. It's so I went on Board Game Geek, and then I realized there's 2 different publishers. There's 6 different games, versions of some of these games. I don't know where to start. But eventually I got the Renegade, and this version, and this even confused me because there's two versions of this. Like,
Right.
Wizard Coast did one called 1941 Spring, I think, or Fall, something like that, which is more like the base game as opposed to this entry level version.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's 1942, and then you got Guadalcanal and Pacific,
and depending on which publisher published it, there's a couple versions of each of those.
right.
And
D-Day.
it was really a hard thing to get into just an entry level game of it. Yeah. Or getting information on the entry level game of it.
I'd love to make a great big honkin' Watson size axis map. Mat.
Where the hell would
The
you
whole
put
map
it?
on a Watson game topper, it'd be, or a table, it'd be awesome. It's 40 or 38 inches by 60.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that wide. Wow.
Yeah. So it'd be great for most people's, when we designed the Watson, we designed the most standard size kitchen dining room table out there is a 40-inch by 60-inch. And then generally they'll have leaves so they can go beyond 60 inches.
Right.
So a 40 by 60, a 38-inch mat, that was really the impetus and the design of the Watson size. So it would be commonly used. The Holmes is a 3 foot by 6 foot. And that was designed so that it would work on those 6 foot, 30-inch plastic tables. That's where our cross support engineering all came into play, so that it would, be stable on those tables and provide the right leverages so the tables wouldn't flip and all of that. And that's where we started with those two sizes.
Okay.
It'd be really, really cool to have a big honking axis and all these, man. All right, I've been taking you off your rail. Sorry.
No, you're not. I do want to get back to that. I just want to finish this up. And this is the last two questions. Who would you suggest I do this Are You Garbage to?
Are you garbage?
Are you board game garbage is what I'm calling it.
Are you board game garbage?
Oh, yeah, who would you like me to interview next? Like do the same thing too that I do.
Okay. Yeah, you need to interview Jamie Kagi.
Okay, yeah, I did. I haven't spoken to him, like I said, since all this stuff with me happened. I texted him a couple times. I would like to talk to him again. I'd like to him and Chris, all them guys. Don, I missed them.
Yep. Joel Letty, he'd be another good one. Dan King, be all right.
Is there any question you would add to this list of questions I've asked?
Any questions I would add to this? Maybe what is your favorite game, and maybe what is your favorite theme?
They were actually on the list. We just didn't get to them. Okay.
Well, I'll give you one answer. Blood Rage Viking.
What is that, theme or game?
Both.
Okay.
My theme, I love Viking theme games. Love them. I love Roman theme games too. So anything Roman themed, and I consider Concordia in that realm. I love those kind of games. But I love the Viking theme games. There's just something about that mythos that I love. We have a Viking theme game mat that's like crazy. It's still one of my favorites. I like pirate games too. So there's a lot of themes and I like space a lot too. I really like space games. So
yeah. Yeah, I do like it. I like all three of them themes. All right, so what's your least favorite, let's say, theme and why?
Least favorite theme?
Yeah.
It'll piss people off, but I don't know if I really like all these weird, what do you call them? Anthropomorphic games where the games are part animals.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get
and cat games, and you got this game, and I mean, there's some that I like, some that I don't, but generally, if we're talking theme, that's probably. But I don't know if this is. I don't think it's theme, but my least favorite style of game is co-op games. I'm just not a big co-op game, and I don't really like a lot of party games, word games especially. They're not my favorite.
All right, what's your least favorite game?
My least favorite game?
Yeah.
Oh, Cards Against Humanity, stuff like that. I don't like it. Not my gig.
Yeah, I'm with you. Again, party games too.
Yeah.
Real big on that. Tower defense. I don't like them either. I don't.
Yeah, that's it. Usually they have some kind of cooperative side of it too. And I don't mind co-op games that have a hidden character like Battlestar Galactica or
Right.
Camelot. I love those games. But when they're, somebody's taking charge all the time and telling everybody what to do, I'm like, well, what am I doing? Well, you could do this or you could do this, but you better do this or else you're going to hurt the team. And it's like, well, I don't want to hurt the team, but I don't think you're right, or I don't want to do that, or that doesn't sound fun, or why don't you just play for me? I hate that.
Yeah. All right, so Kabuki had a question about the tables. Let's bring it up. I had to find it. What made you name all the tables after Sherlock Holmes characters?
That's a great question. I am actually not a Holmesian scholar by any means. I like the whole Holmes theme a lot, but when I got thinking about the name Game Toppers, that it would be a topper for your table to play games on, right away I thought about wearing a top hat. And that made me think Victorian era. And immediately I just thought about Sherlock Holmes. Well, we started brainstorming all of that with our logo, and with my daughters who are home. Like when we come up with all these names for our Game Toppers theme, like we have a brand new product now. It's called it's a mat caddy for all your small storage mats. And it has Velcro, so this here attaches to the, try to do this with one hand, super heavy duty industrial commercial Velcro, but the caddy has 2 strips of it. You can put 2 of the smaller play mats in here and it pops on there. Okay, well, to answer your question, this here for the Holmesian theme, we called it the Baker Street Irregulars. Well, do you know what the Baker Street Irregulars are?
Yeah. The kids.
Yeah, the kids. I honestly didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, I didn't know that. And I was talking to Hannah and Manny. I said, I want to do a cool name for this product so it has an identity. And all of our toppers have an identity. We have our smallest topper is called the Hudson after Mrs. Hudson. That's the half of the Watson is the Hudson. Then we have the Lestrade from Inspector Lestrade, which is half of the Holmes. Then we have the Mycroft, but if you take out the middle leaf, it's the 4x4 Moriarty table. So we have 6 main sizes. We also have the Adler after Mrs. Adler, or after Adler. We had a bundle for the leg kit and the dining cover that we called the Satchel bundle. So we were bringing that in. We had a stretch goal, I think, on Kickstarter 2.0 that we called the Pink Slipper package. Okay. And it had certain accessories. Do you know what the Pink Slipper is?
Vaguely. I remember. I've read the books a while ago. It was 20, 30 years ago.
Does Kabuki Kid know what the Pink Slipper is?
She's a bot. She knows everything.
She does. That's the truth. Well, there's a lot of those things that we've kind of hidden in there because I love theme and board games, and I figured why not our toppers have an identity, and people have embraced that. Oh, I got the Holmes. Oh, the Holmes is way better than the Watson. No, the Watson. I mean, they go back and forth in our Game Topper Nation Facebook group, and it's a lot of fun. Seeing people because they just love their stuff. I'm a big fan of the Watson, but the Holmes is really nice. And this great big honking Mycroft, if you've got big honking games and you love to play miniature games and all that kind of stuff, it's the right ticket. So Burky said, Burky really nailed it with the Game Toppers idea. Thank you.
I'm glad you went with your heart and didn't listen to that Lance guy. Yeah. And I'm glad you got all the success you did. You really deserve it.
No, thank you. We could not do any of it without all the people helping us. This was not a Kevin Burkhardsmeier event. This was a big event by a lot of people. So very grateful.
Usually takes a team to do something. Yeah. So like I said, I thought the Kickstarter was over. I didn't want to turn this into a work thing. But anything you want to talk about with the Kickstarter?
If you're looking for a game table, or if you're looking for neoprene game mats to play on, or if you're already a Game Topper backer, we've got a ton of customer loyalty stretch goals. One of the things that we've tried to do during our Kickstarters is I'm always thinking of ways that I can reward my backers, because I genuinely care about each backer. They're not a number to me. We're not going to treat our people like Amazon or whatever. You're not getting automated bots when you deal with Game Toppers. You're going to talk to me or Josiah, and we're going to take care of everybody individually. But I've been thinking of ideas. How can I give back in a way to my existing backers? And one of the things, I met Joe Ward at Gamma about a year ago. In fact, it was the year of the pandemic, actually. It was in 2020. And then I talked to him again at Origins. But he does Goliath coins. Look at this thing. I don't know if you can see this here.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
It's 3 inches, and it is chunky. This has got a big D20 on it. I think the glare is kind of bad here.
Oh, is that what I thought it was your logo? Okay.
Yeah, my camera is a little far away, reach across the table here.
Okay.
But the logo is on this side, the topper hat. It's amazing, super chunky. Well, what we're doing for a customer loyalty goal, we if you've ever ordered from us from our Shopify store or from Kickstarter, we have those emails associated with all that. If you've ever backed us in any way, we're going to give you one of these coins for anything you purchase, and they're $22.95. These coins, he sells these at the show. And so this was just one little cool thing. We've got a whole bunch of price reductions on different packages. Our Game Hall bag, which is amazing. We just are going to be unlocking that, so you get it for $29. I'm hardly making anything on it. Stuff like that, just to reward our backers. And we've got double mat bundles where you get the mat storage bags, over 30 styles, 10 brand new ones this time. So amazing lineup. And this is something that's super fun. And this was for me. I got to be honest. This was probably just a fanboy thing, and probably maybe not the smartest business decision. I don't know. We'll see. But I love the game Baseball Highlights 2045. You can see Ralphie behind me here. Ralphie loves being on shows. He's very, very personable. So I'm the new holder of the Commissioner Ralph Trophy for the World's Championship of Baseball Highlights. Love that game. Love Mike Fitzgerald. Well, we were able to get an agreement with Eagle Griffin to produce this beautiful 3mm double tournament mat, stitched edge, for Baseball Highlights.
Okay. That is nice.
And we unlocked this at a stretch goal. And it's $39, and we're including the bag for free. So I'm only allowed to make 300 of them. I need to sell 50 of them just to break even.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
I think you'll do it.
But I do love it. So that was kind of I wanted to make some and help with the tournaments and give some away, and I just thought it was cool. So there you go.
Yeah, it is cool. It's like I said, like you, like Scott, you both give back to the community in some way. Yeah. That's why I like you guys. That's why I knew doing this, you weren't board game garbage. I knew that going into it. Kabuki mentioned the Happy Mouth, and I know the FDA and all that gets involved with that. But do you have any plans on making that more available?
Well, in Minnesota, we have something called cottage industry, so it's a little bit different. With dry spices, you don't have to have the same regulations that you have with anything that's cooked or anything that has more perishable items in it. So it's a little bit different with spices. If I were selling it commercially in different states and all that kind of stuff in major chains, I might have to do some stuff. But I used to cook professionally, and that was my seasoning spice. I've probably given you some of it over the years, I bet.
Yeah.
I use it to make jerky. It's a really good all seasoning for steaks and chicken and fish and whatnot. I almost shut the whole thing down, honestly, after Game Toppers took off, because I was getting orders for it and I didn't have time to make it. And I'm really picky about, cleanliness, and I've been in food service. So it's like, where we have a big laundry room that's 12 by 10, and we clean the whole thing out, and then all of a sudden I bring out all the stainless steel and I triple disinfect everything first and wash it all down and blah blah blah. It's a big deal, and then I make 300 to 600 pounds of it at a time.
Yeah,
and it's 2 full days of me mixing spices and starting to package and all of that. I don't have any automation, so I did it mostly for friends initially, and then I started selling my Happy Mouth at couple of the big Shields all sports shows, at the duck hunting shows. I'd make chili with it. It's amazing. And people love that spice. I've had it at several of the local meat shops and stuff like that. But now one day I was whining about how busy I was, and I said, I think I'm going to shut down Happy Mouth. They were, no, Burky, no. and that next morning I had 22 sales. And it was like, that's not what I wanted. I got the exact, you just made more work for me. I said, don't worry, I'm not going to shut it down. I'm just whining today.
Yes. Yeah, I did enjoy it. Jen doesn't like pepper, so she didn't like it. So I don't really use it as much, but I do enjoy it when I do use it.
I make my jerky that a lot of people enjoy when I go to conventions. I'm not going to have any time to make jerky for BGG Con, and I'm kind of doubting whether it'll happen for PAX either, because I get home after BGG on the 20th, and then we've got Thanksgiving. I've only got a few days, and then our Kickstarter ends on the 28th, or on the 27th, the midnight. Right. And then right away there on Wednesday, the 28th, I take off to, or is it the 29th? Take off to PAX Unplugged. So it's a crazy, crazy busy time for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, hopefully I may go up the PAX for a day. I'm not sure yet. I will be up the mountains the week of Thanksgiving, on the first week after. So a lot of travel in there. I don't know if I'm going to be there, but I would like to go. I only been to PAX Unplugged once. And it's only an hour away.
Oh, that'd be great to see it. We're in the first look area. We've got 120 game mats there for the first look area, and we have got a big 20 by 30 booth. So our booth is right next to all that, and it's where all the new hottest games are. And it's really quite a sight to behold. It's kind of like at Origins, where we have all those mats in the open play area.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to go up. If I do, I would definitely will hunt you down. Like it just depends on the weather with me. Anything does nowadays. My body does not react to weather.
Yeah, it's cold here. Kabuki said if we had snow yet. Yeah, we had 2 inches here a couple weeks ago, and then we got a little bit more on top of it, and it got so cold that it didn't melt, which we thought it would melt right away because the ground was still warm. Yeah. But we had about a week where it was down to like 18 degrees at night, which it's a little early for it in October. Generally we have 40s to 50s in October, and you get 30s at night. But this week it's been about 40 most of the days, and then it gets down to about 25. All the snow finally melted, but we've had some little flurry-ish stuff. But now I think the whole next week it's going up into the 50s while I'm going to be at BGG. So I'm going to kind of miss the nice weather for November.
You'll be in Texas. There's nice weather down there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's supposed to be 70s. So that sounds good.
Our weather has been nuts here too. It's up and down like that. We're in the 30s at night now, which is odd for this early, in the season. Then it's supposed to be like 70 or something tomorrow. It's all over the place. So I'm going to let you go. I know you're not feeling well, and I don't want to keep you long. But the Game Toppers, after the Kickstarter, are these out in retail like after you get the Kickstarter, or is it just through the Kickstarter that you can get them? Or did I lose you, Burke? Might have lost me. Yep, I think I lost him. All right. So, well, that's the end of the inaugural Are You Board Game Garbage? Thanks for watching. Burky's not here, but he's got a Kickstarter going on now. Look for tabletops, and he's got a website, tabletoppers. Go check them out. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Thanks, Kabuki.